finals, and then Jessica Gundry in the semis beats Jessica 15-12. The other Hannah Lawrence, well, she took out Katrina Smith in the quarterfinals. In the semi-finals, it was a very, very tight match against Elizabeth Powell, and that one went 15-14. It was a tough old competition for her. Very, very tight fight. Went to priority at 14 all, but Hannah Lawrence able to get that last hit, even though she did have priority. So Hannah Lawrence, 27, fences for the Wingerworth Club in Derbyshire. Coach Tony Klenzar. And Hannah Nesbitt, just 20 years old, fighting for the Leon Paul Epee Club in Hendon, coached by John Willis. Best result this season, under 23 championship bronze. So Hannah Nesbitt will line up on the right, Hannah Lawrence on the left, the 27-year-old against the 20-year-old. How do you see this one panning out, Karen? What are their tactics?
Well, what's interesting here is that Hannah Lawrence, to your left, who didn't compete much last year but still won the title at the British Championships, she had a tight fight against Elizabeth Powell in the semi-finals, which went to a priority minute, in fact, at 14 all and got the last hit. But this is a very similar fight. Nesbitt's very tall and has good long attacks, so I think that Lawrence is going to be looking to break those attacks up or even counter-attack. But it'd be interesting to see what game plan Nesbitt brings to the piece, because I think that will affect what Lawrence then does. So already you see that Hannah Lawrence, it's difficult to come with both Hannahs, we're going to have to call them Lawrence and Nesbitt. You can see that Lawrence is keeping the distance quite close to prevent the good long attacks as she described them coming from Nesbitt.
Attacks are coming in from Nesbitt, but they're not landing, are they? And Lawrence is able to deal with them, and now a 3-0 lead.
If you like, Nesbitt's not being allowed to build her attack, so she's not being allowed to keep an open distance and then start her attack from a bit further out. When Lawrence keeping the distance much tighter, that's preventing Nesbitt from playing into the game plan. So I think she probably just needs to open up the fight a little bit, Nesbitt. Again,
so you mean go back, try and open the distance a bit faster, and then change it,
exactly.
Go forward, close the distance again.
Exactly that. So muck around with the distance. If you muck around with the distance of your opponent and you're in control, you can then pick the moment to attack or pick the moment to step in and show your opponent an opportunity to hit you, and then you pick up a parry riposte or you run away from the attack. It's all about this sort of thinking 2 or 3 moves ahead.
Went for the foot there, went low line. But 4-0 up. Lawrence doesn't really need to do too much, does she?
No risk. Yeah, she's done a good job in the first 3 minutes. She doesn't need to make or take too many risks. If an opportunity presents itself, she must be ready for it. So you can't be completely passive, even if you're in control in Epee. And Epeeists often say that a 4-0 lead at the beginning is not as big as a 4-0 lead at the end.
No.
And I know that sounds bizarre, but as time ticks away, your opponent has to start pressing and being a bit more intense about trying to close the gap. Whereas now you see Nesbitt is taking her time. She's got another 2-3 minute period, so she doesn't need to rush. Yeah. 1 hit at a time at the moment. But Lawrence, as I said, needs to be ready, and she was definitely ready then.
Nesbitt just can't seem to find a way through. So look, That's it. A step away at 5-0 lead for Lawrence. And what will the coach be saying? What will Hannah Nesbitt's coach be saying to her now? How can she turn this around?
Well, interestingly, Hannah Nesbitt's coach is George Morris, who's down at the other end of the piece from where we're looking. We're looking at Hannah Lawrence talking to Tony Clenshaw. And he'll be very comfortable, but he will be saying stay sharp, stay tight, and keep it neat and tidy. Here we see George Morris talking with Hannah Nesbitt. Hannah is coached by John Willis, but John's running this competition here today, so he's not down on the side of the piece with the 20-year-old. So now it's up to George Morris to provide tactics, and I'm sure John Willis has had a word with him. I think really this has to be about opening the distance, changing the distance, keeping some variety. What she's done is she has actually managed to open the distance up a little bit, Nesbitt has, but she's attacking now from too far out. She needs to close the distance before her final action. But Hannah Lawrence well in control of this. If we still see her with this kind of lead at the end of this 3-minute period, I think we're going to be in for a very interesting final period.
Tactics don't seem to have changed.
No, but Nesbitt has tried to open things up a little bit, but it's... If you look to Hannah Lawrence on your left, she's trying to just keep that distance close. Look at the tiny little steps, couple of steps in, couple of steps out. She's trying to just keep it close the whole time. And that time, Nesbitt thought she had an opportunity to attack, which she probably did, but she didn't stick her arm out.
Oh, well, Hannah Nesbitt getting a point on the board.
Well, it's all down to starting from a little bit further out, opening that distance up and then coming in. She lured Lawrence into making an attack, picked it up, lands her first hit. So promising for Nesbitt. And I know she's 6-1 down, Graham, but Epee, you've got bags of time. That she can't give away freebies like that.
Yeah, she doesn't have bags of points, though, does she? It's 7-1 down.
No, but as it's not giving away hits at the moment as well as scoring them. She's still got time as long as she doesn't give hits away like she did the 7th one there for Lawrence.
So any youngsters who are watching, how do you find, does your weapon find you or do you find your weapon?
That's really interesting. Body shape plays a part to some extent, but you do get different sized fences in all 6 disciplines.
Oh, there we go, double.
Each weapon has a character. If you this weapon, as you can see, is much more patient. You have to be very diligent and you have to be sharp and alert. And it tends to be a certain personality trait that lends itself to being that patient. I could never fence epee. I tried a few times, but I just couldn't fence it. I was too impatient. So my personality lent itself more towards foil, which is a technical weapon in terms of you've got a defined target area, the whole body's target in epee, whereas in foil it's the torso. And it's a highly technical weapon. And then Sabre as well, bit of a mystery to me. I mean, my guilty pleasure, men's sabre, absolutely love it to pieces, but crikey, I mean, they just go at each other. So I think you find your weapon, but your weapon, because of your personality, will seek you out as well.
So you're saying it's a combination of body shape, physiology, and your personality?
Yeah, absolutely. A lot of fencers, I mean, still to this day, will start with a foil, mainly because if you're young, foil is the lightest. It's the easiest to hold if you're young and your muscles are developing. But nowadays, coaches move their fencers onto the weapon of choice as early as they possibly can.
So Nesbitt closing the gap slightly there to 10-4, but there was a lot of doubles given away, which has put Lawrence up to only 5 points away now from clinching victory as we go into the second break. That's the thing with Epee, isn't it? Once you get that lead, you can afford to give away the doubles.
Well, quite. So you can play a patient game, and you can play for the doubles. Epee hate me saying that, but you can play for the doubles. You don't have to take any inherent risk. And what you're saying earlier on is that Hannah Nesbitt doesn't have the points. Well, it was this thing about, yes, she didn't have the points, but as long as she didn't give any away, then it wasn't a problem, because Lawrence is now closer to the target score of 15. So those doubles could come very easily. The fight could be over very quickly. And as time ticks away in the final period, Nesbitt has to up the pressure, and of course that plays into Lawrence's hands, because she knows that my opponent's just going to attack me, so I know what she's going to do.
So Hannah Lawrence potentially 3 minutes or 5 points of fencing away from retaining her British national champion title. She was actually British champion while she's retained it since 2008.
Now, I think Lawrence has said, I'm not going to hang around and wait for you to come on to me. I'm going to push you into making some kind of action.
Lawrence was the Commonwealth team bronze medalist.
So now you see that Nesbitt's having to just up the pace a little bit. She's not pressing as much as I expected.
Well, whatever she seems to do, it doesn't seem to work, really.
Well, while she's in the middle of the piece like this, there's room for Lawrence to move in either direction, either step away from the attack as she did then and pick it up and work off a failed attack from Nesbitt, or she can push. So really for me, Nesbitt needs to be either pulling her towards her and getting down the other end, or pushing her all the way down. But at the moment, as soon as she pushes, Lawrence is letting the distance close, and then she goes for an attack just like that. And I think, like you say, it's Lawrence that's adapting quicker.
Well, she has the experience. And she's had this title since 2008.
Well, she's 1 point away from getting the hat trick, and she does.
And there we go. So 3 times now, Hannah Lawrence has claimed the British title. 27-year-old from Derbyshire. Big hug from the coach. And that match really, from word go, Hannah Lawrence was in control.
Total and utter control. She came into the fight very confident. She knew exactly what she was doing. She got that lead early on, and then she just built on it from there. And congratulations to her. But Hannah Nesbitt, young talent, exceptional. We're going to see much more of her in the future for sure.
What do you think Hannah Nesbitt has